but he quoted John 14:6. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And I thought, that's all it takes. So I went forward.
Welcome to You Belong, the podcast where stories come to life, hosted by Pastor Nate. In each episode, we dive into deep, powerful testimonies and moving stories that reveal the incredible ways God is at work in our lives. Remember, everyone has a story, and every story matters to God. So whether you're searching for hope, inspiration, or simply a reminder that you're not alone, let us journey together and discover the stories that unite us all. This is You Belong.
All right, well, welcome Jane with us. I'm so glad you're with us on our You Belong podcast. We love the fact that every name has a story and every story matters to God. And today, we're going to hear your story today. So can you tell us where you're from and where did you go?
I was born and raised in Montreal.
I did not know that. All right, there's always something I don't know. Okay, sorry.
I lived there for 65 years.
Okay.
Moved here when I was 65.
Do you speak French?
Oui, je parle français.
Tu parles français?
Oui.
Oh, that's awesome. I had no idea. Really cool.
And I became a believer in Jesus at 50 years old. So before that, I had a great lifestyle, and it was called My Way.
Your way. Oh, yes. Your way, the highway?
My Way.
Just your way.
I don't listen to Frank Sinatra anymore.
Okay. All right. No Frank Sinatra.
Well, he sang it.
Is that who sang that song?
Yeah.
Okay.
He didn't write it. Paul Anka wrote it.
Okay.
Sinatra sang it, and My Way does not work.
Okay. Very good. So you're Montreal, 60. How long did you say that you were there for?
65 years.
5 years ago. Okay.
That was just yesterday.
Just yesterday. Oh my goodness. 65 years in Montreal. What was something that you enjoyed doing when you were a kid growing up?
The main part of my life was the swimming competition.
Okay. What kind of swimming? Like all different kinds of strokes, all that stuff?
Yeah, I did I raced the 3 strokes: breaststroke, crawl, freestyle, and backstroke.
Okay.
And I won them all.
You won them all, every single one. Did you go far with that, like in your high school and stuff like that? What did it look like for you?
I quit when I was 16.
When you're 16, okay. You're like,
Boys became more important.
Jane, something like that. So, like, was there local competitions you would go to and stuff?
Most of the races were in Canada. I had a few in the States.
Okay.
But we had the records. So I was a Canadian champion.
Come on. So not even just a Montreal champion, you're Canadian.
Canadian champion.
What year would that have been?
I couldn't.
Just back then.
It was back then.
The Canadian champ. So would you go to like a central spot in Canada? You compete against how many? Would you?
It was all in Montreal.
All in Montreal.
Yeah.
How many would you have competed against? Do you think?
Well, we had all the different teams in Montreal, and the records were computed and calculated, and
okay.
So you had your world records and
your Canadian records.
Somebody else did it.
So if I did like a deep dive, could I find your name there back in the day?
Yeah. I swam for a private club, the Montreal Amateur Athletic Association.
Okay. You're legit. That's awesome. So could you beat me in a race right now? Probably.
Could I do what?
Could you beat me in a swimming race?
No,
right now?
I can't even swim. Got in a pool about 6 months ago.
Okay.
And I never had to be taught. Everything came naturally.
Okay.
And now I get in the water and it's like, how do I do it?
How do I do this? Yeah. Always came too important.
So I won't go in the water.
You're just like, nah, too bad. Not going to do it. Well, that's fun. That's exciting. So you did a lot of swimming, Canadian champion. Did you get a cool banner or something like that?
Oh, I had all kinds of medals and trophies.
Do you still have them?
Nope.
What'd you do with them?
Don't ask.
Okay, all right. I won't ask them. I'll pawn them. That's cool. So what did that look like after swimming? So 16 goes, you're like, I'm done swimming. Boys are more important. And what did that look like after swimming?
Well, by then, 17, I started working.
Where'd you work as?
I started at Sun Life Assurance.
Okay. Insurance? You insurance at like 17?
Yeah, and I had no idea what I was in the mortgage department. I could spell mortgage, but I didn't know what I was doing.
How'd you get the job?
I got a job. And the only thing I knew how to do is I collected for the 50-50 draw on Friday.
That was awesome.
And then I saw an ad in the paper for an airline,
Okay.
and they were offering a course, and you had to pay.
Yeah.
So I phoned Air Canada to see if they recommended the course, and they said, well, why would you pay for a course? We train you for free.
There you go.
So I went to Trans-Canada Airlines.
Is that what it was before Air Canada? Trans-Canada Airlines. So what did you do for Trans-Canada Airlines?
I worked in the records department, so they would phone in, make a reservation, and they'd put it on a card, and they'd send it down a conveyor belt, and we would update it and file it. And
Okay. This is before the internet, before they were doing it all online, Expedia.ca. That's pretty cool. So how long were you doing that for?
I did it for about 28 years.
Okay. All right. So
So I went through all the computer stuff when it started.
how was that? Was that like an overwhelming, like, what do I do? It's so insane.
The first computer was with Air Canada, and you had a card, and when it came to the name, you had to join the dots. So you had a pencil and you marked,
Okay, yeah.
and then you stuck it in a machine.
Does what it's supposed to do.
And at Eastern, it was slides, and it was a square, and there were 4 flight numbers on each side of the square.
Okay.
So when you booked that flight, you put that flight in the computer.
Okay.
And then we went to IBM.
IBM. That's a whole new level of gameplay. Very cool. Did you do some traveling with them too? Like, I'm sure you got perks and stuff, I imagine. Could you travel cheaper that way, working for them?
Free.
You just travel free. Come on.
Free standby.
Free standby. You're just like, where am I go today? You just go wherever.
There was 1 year I would work 30 days straight and take 30 days off.
Stop it.
So I took 6 major trips in 1 year.
What were the 6 major trips?
Hawaii.
Oh yeah. Did you do surfing while you were there? Was that a big
Oh
thing?
yeah, I tried it, but I never.
on, Jane. Did you
I
really?
never conquered it.
Couldn't do it. It looks tricky. It looks challenging, but you did try it.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
fun.
And we went to the beach where the waves are the most dangerous.
Okay.
The big waves.
Yeah.
And I saved a girl who was drowning.
Because you're
I just went
you're
to-
Team
I-
Canada swimming
No,
champion.
it's all undertow.
Oh no, I don't.
So I just stuck my leg out and she grabbed my leg.
She was getting like taken out. Okay.
I got taken out once.
Okay.
You don't
How-
want to know the story.
I do want to know the story. What are you talking about? What's the story? Tell me the story.
Well, it was at one of those beaches where the waves are very high, and I watched the kids, and they're all body surfing, and I thought, well, crap, if they can do it, I can do it.
Because you're Canada champion.
It doesn't matter. I'm used to swimming in a pool,
Yes, it's different.
not in
than
the
swimming.
ocean.
It's different.
Anyway, I went out and I was surfing, and it was wonderful, and sailing right into shore, and I went to stand up, and I got caught in the undertow, and I'm doing somersaults. And I just let it go and came up to the top, and I went and I reached for my bathing suit, and it was there, thank goodness, but the bottoms were gone.
Okay. All right. Gone just like that. So that was a scary moment, I would imagine. Oh,
And
my
then I
gosh.
went to the hairdresser, and it took 7 washes to get the sand out of my hair.
There was that much sand. Oh, I've seen videos of like people getting caught in that. That'd be pretty scary stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a beautiful place,
Yeah.
and the local people are wonderful.
Okay.
They actually apologize for the weather if it's bad.
So sorry. So sorry it's raining. So sorry. That's beautiful. We're hoping to go there someday. So you did Hawaii. What was another really cool spot you went to that trip that year?
Caribbean,
Caribbean. Okay, yeah.
yeah, but the Caribbean, I loved it until I saw Honolulu.
Till you saw Honolulu. Oh yeah. That would be.
And I've done all the Hawaiian Islands.
How many? Is there like 7? How many is there? Is there
Well, we went to Hilo, which is a big island, and we went to the Sheraton Hotel, which is on the edge of a crater of a live volcano.
Okay.
And I thought, why would they build a hotel here?
Okay, interesting.
And we're having a drink. And I said, why are we sitting here?
That's like the volcano's about to erupt over top. Yeah. How far away was the volcano where you were sitting at?
It was right there.
It was like right there. Okay, that's a little nerve-wracking.
And they had steam vents in the earth.
Okay, yeah.
And there were signs that said, don't go near them, don't inhale this.
Because you get pneumonomaltoscopic silicovolcaniosis. Do you get that?
It smells like chlorine.
Okay.
And chlorine is a horrible... Anyway, of course, I had to know what it smells like.
Of course, that's just your personality. I'm not going to listen to this sign. I'm going to inhale this thing. And it changed your life forever, didn't it?
No, it hurt my throat.
Yes, it probably would. Very cool. So you did some traveling. That's so cool. Very good.
And I'd done a lot of European countries and Moscow and Kiev.
Kiev, okay. All right. So you've been right in the middle of all that there.
And when we went there, it was not communist.
Not back then, okay. Yeah.
But it was very communist.
Very, very. Was it? How long would you have spent there?
We were there 7 days.
7 days, okay. Was it expensive to get there and all that stuff to be there? No.
No, the trip was $200.
$200.
And I could take anybody. I could take anybody with me in my family, so you could be my cousin and.
Stop it. You just go for free. Do they? I bet you they don't do that now. I can't imagine they do that now.
I don't know. It took me, when we came home, it was almost a month before I got my passport back.
Why? Who knows?
They know everything.
Okay, interesting. You were there for 28 years working for is that what you said, 28 years? Was there ever any like really intense moments where, because I can imagine, been in airports where I've seen people just lose their minds. Did you ever have moments like that where people are just like, you know what, my flight's late because of you? Like, has anything happened like that before?
Yep.
Okay.
Often.
When
okay. I was a supervisor at Dorval Airport.
Okay, you worked your way to supervisor and stuff. Okay. So what that looked like dealing with?
It was interesting.
Okay. How interesting.
People, they try to get away with everything, and we were on to them.
You're on. I just feel like you have like this personnel where I think you could just see through the webs of lies from people, can't you? You can just see right through it.
It was really quite incredible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That'd be cool.
And I loved it.
Yeah. What did you do after that? Would there have been a different job after that?
I went into a company that was doing health care.
Okay.
So I would be doing home visits, and it would either be cleaning house, making meals, or doing nursing jobs for minimum wage.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a nurse originally. And of course, they take you to the hospital and give you a tour and show you the worst part of nursing.
Yeah.
So I decided, no, I'm not doing that. And I ended up doing it for minimum wage.
Okay, perfect.
And I ended up doing MS patients.
Oh, okay, all right. That'd be pretty intense, I imagine.
It was...
Hard.
But I'd never had any training, so I was doing transfers and lifting, and
You should have no training. That was just the way it was.
That's the agency. They didn't care.
They just
wanted the money from the patients.
Excellent. That's so good.
So anyway, I met a lot of nice people.
Yeah. How long did you do that for?
A couple of years. And the owner of the company, she didn't like me. She had a meeting, and she was sitting at the desk like you are. And her daughter was beside me, and her daughter asked me a question, so I looked at her daughter, and she said, "Look at me when you're talking."
She said it to you.
And so she fired me.
Just like that?
Yeah. So I went to Zellers.
Okay, that's a 180, a little change.
And I had to learn a different French for every job.
A different French. Okay, interesting. Oh, that's right, because you're still in Montreal this time.
Yeah.
Like, you're okay. That's all.
So I worked at Zellers in Dorval, and all my training was in French, and the papers to sign were in French, and I became the top salesperson for selling Zellers credit cards.
Were you? Okay.
And they paid me in gift cards, and I spent 16 million points in 4 years.
16 million
Furnished my
points.
house.
With all the gift cards, all stuff you would have got from selling the credit cards. That's awesome. 16 million points.
And it was weird because I didn't believe in credit because I got into bad debt. When I became a believer, I owed something like $30,000.
Okay.
And I paid it off in 2 years.
Straight up. Okay.
So I didn't want to sell credit cards. and they kept pressuring me. So I was walking along the street, and I said, God, you know, they want me to sell credit cards, and you know I don't believe in them. But let me just do one. And that will keep them quiet.
Stop bothering me.
So I sold one. And the next day we bargained for two. And then if I walked through the store on a day off, they would call me and have me work because get more credit cards.
Because Jane could do it. Jane was a credit card queen.
Well, they made the money on the people who didn't pay their credit cards.
That's the hard part of
But
it.
when
Because
I
they're not bad on their own, but
when I sold the credit card, I'd say pay as you go.
Yes, pay as you go. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Very cool. So you're at Zellers, and so you're in Montreal and Quebec for all those times. So what brought you out here? Because we're not in Quebec, so we're here in New Brunswick. So what is that? What brought you here? Because you're not a believer at this time. Like you haven't.
Oh, I was a believer then.
At the Zellers moment, okay.
Oh yeah,
okay.
yeah. My girlfriend at Zellers, her husband drove me home, and his brother had been down here with his wife to visit retirement Miramichi.
Okay.
And I said, well, what is it? Well, you rent a house, and they shovel your snow and they mow the lawn.
It's like a dream.
And I went home and I said, Jerry, we're moving.
Just like that. And what was Jerry like? Was he like, all right, let's go?
He was from here. He was born in Moncton.
Okay, all right. So it wasn't a big transition.
So for him, he was coming home.
Yeah.
And I just, we phoned. They sent us pictures, which were lousy. And we rented a house, and that was in something like June, and we moved in September.
Just like that.
Came home, got out of the car at the Rod, looked at the bridge, and I said, I'm home.
You just felt like that. See, I always would assume you were just a natural-born Miramichier. I had no idea. So that's why we have a conversation like this. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and when we walked into the house, it's a 3-bedroom house, and I said, this is heaven. And I've never looked back.
Never looked back. Oh, that's so cool.
And we do more here than we ever did in Montreal. Montreal, it was too expensive, too far, too dangerous. Because if you're traveling, the subway is, put your wallet inside your jacket.
Your jacket, yeah. Okay, well, that's...
And if you would like to go to a concert, too many people, you get crushed.
Oh, yeah.
And yet I went to the Olympics and I did the World's Fair.
You went to the Olympics, like over when you were in Montreal. Oh, that is cool. That would been a lot of people to that. Were you volunteering at that? Were you in it?
No.
What were you doing? Paying to go see it. I don't know.
Nobody pays.
Well, I don't know how you do it. You just went to go attend it.
We just went.
Just went. Okay. That's cool.
We did what young people do.
we jumped the fence. No one saw us coming.
Well, scalping tickets, something like that.
Is that a thing? I guess so.
That was before.
I think that's called
There's my before life and my afterlife.
Okay, yeah. And now you're in the new life.
I did everything in the before life.
Okay.
And I think when I look back at it, God allowed that to happen so that I could help somebody later on who's in that situation and walk them out of it.
Yeah, I always find that's the case. You know what I mean? Like there's been things with my pastor, I'm like, man, why did I go through this? Why did God allow it? Or so I was like, well, to help this teen or help this adult go through the same thing. So I think I think that would be probably, I would say you're pretty accurate.
Well, in other words, you go through all the bad things and you learn from them.
You learn from them. Yeah, well, that's really cool. So you've been here for a bit now, Miramichi, which is good. It's exciting. What was like your health journey and stuff like that all along the way on that? Because we all have health journeys.
I had 6 miscarriages.
Okay.
And that was very... When I became a believer, I never could figure out why. So I thought, well, I'll read the Bible. That's going to give me the answer. And it didn't really give me the answer, except that God had different plans, and you have to learn to accept it.
Yeah.
And it was hard to go through at the time, but I'm blessed now because I don't have to worry about drugs.
Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
scary to have
Yeah.
kids in this day and age.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, we don't always see why we go through those moments and stuff like that. So.
And the school system's not the same as it was. Everything's changed.
Mm-hmm.
Life is not what it was. I think it was difficult when I was growing up, but I think it's more difficult now.
Yeah, I would second that. It's having two kids of my own. It's scary for me as the dad. These are the moments that I love watching my kids grow up. But I am scared. Like there's a lot of moments where I hear the horror stories of what's going on. But thankfully, especially at the church, we've got lots of teachers in the school system, which has been helpful for my peace of mind and stuff like that too. So
it's like even just listening to it in the news, it's horrible. Mm-hmm. When I went to school, there were boys and girls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little different, a little challenging now to do. So it's interesting that God walks you through those moments because dealing with 6 miscarriages that's hard. I know, speaking from experience and stuff, those are challenging moments to have. Right, you start questioning a lot of things, and you always wonder what it would look like if you didn't have faith, because you wouldn't believe at that point where you. Yeah, so it's a little bit, I think, different perspective we can have when you're going through those moments, and we go. You have something to lean on. I look to that. I look at the promises. It's interesting. We go through the Old Testament, right? One of the promises that God made to the Israelites was like the women weren't going to have miscarriages, because that would have been a rampant thing happening all the time too, and that's how they grew so much so fast, because you got pregnant, everyone had a kid, right? So it's, but for us now living, those are heartache moments, and we.
Going back to travel, I went to Greece.
Okay.
And I had a free week. Mm. Actually, in the office, Olympic Airways came in and offered a trip. And in our office, they always offered the free trip to the same woman. Mm-hmm. And I went to the boss and I said, it's always Grace that goes. She can't go anymore. She's got a son to look after. Send someone else. Mm-hmm. So they sent me. Okay.
I want my job. Put me in there.
I took $100 with me and came back with $50.
But that's it.
It was a free trip. Anyway, the guide took us one day to Corinth.
Oh man.
And we were standing outside these ruins, and it was like an old public washroom. Mm-hmm. And the philosophers would go in and sit and discuss. Yeah. And he stood there and he said, this is where St. Paul stood when he said, and I said, excuse me, what did you say? And he repeated it. And I thought, oh, there was a St. Paul. Mm. So I came home and I decided I would read the Bible from beginning to end so I could find out about this Paul person. But I'm not reading the Old Testament because that was written for the Jews, only the New Testament. So I read it from the beginning, Matthew, to the end. Didn't understand a word until I became a believer, and then the words just jumped out.
It's interesting how he does that. The Holy Spirit and then enlightens you, and you're able to understand it. Right? It's almost like the scales come off.
When I was reading about Paul, I got a phone call from this man, and he was selling carpet cleaning. And we talked on the phone, and I ended up doing telemarketing for him. So he would call me, and he would ask me, he told me everything about St. Paul that you could ask anybody. Mm-hmm. And I kept saying, where did you learn all this? Did you go to Bible school? And he just kept saying, no. And he taught me everything about the Bible. Mm-hmm. He was in my life for 3 years. And then he disappeared off the face of the earth.
Never saw him again or heard from him.
He was an angel.
Yeah. We talk about that. We read about that. Angels. We host angels unaware, right? It's
he told me about his wife and his kids. I never met anybody. Mm-hmm. I met him.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I love when you have people like that, or angels, and who come around and meet you where you're at and stuff. I love that, right? That's really cool. So what's been like your biggest thing now, like that God's really been teaching you or showing you, right? Because you've spent some time growing up and going through your old life, now your new life. So what's that one thing that you're like, man, God, even today, my story still matters. So what is that thing that God's showing you today?
For me, the biggest thing is that I know now that I'm never alone. I went through a phase in my life, if I didn't have a boyfriend or a husband, I was a failure. I was nothing. I had to have this man in my life. And now I'm a widow, and I certainly don't want another man because I'm not training a new one.
Okay, gotcha.
Everybody agrees with me, but I'm never alone.
Yeah, so good.
It's I have someone to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
If I have a problem, I can just say it.
Mm-hmm.
The Holy Spirit is there, and it's incredible. It's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And my life changed the moment I became a believer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Little things and big things.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a Billy Graham mission,
Mm-hmm.
and it was at the Montreal Forum, so that's where the hockey is played.
Mm-hmm.
And Billy Graham wasn't there. He'd had back surgery, and it was Leighton Ford. And I have no idea what he said.
Mm-hmm.
But he quoted John 14:6. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And I thought, that's all it takes.
Mm-hmm.
So I went forward.
Just like that.
And I thought, this is okay. Nobody knows me.
No one knows me. Yeah.
And
But then you realize someone does know you.
they hand out all these
Pamphlets and stuff.
pamphlets and reading material, and somebody's going to follow up with you, make sure you find a church, and they do. That group is just incredible. And I walked to my car, and it was very late at night because this all took quite a bit of time. And I got to my car, which was on the other side of St. Catherine Street, which we would call the slums. And I wasn't afraid, because now I'm a believer. And I got to my car, and my lights were on. So the battery was dead. And I thought, well, that's okay, God will handle this.
Like your life's changed, like you're just giving all these things to God now. You're like, oh.
And this is right after the thing. And I get in the car, and this man is sitting on the stairs across the street, and he gets up off the stairs and he walks to the car. Normally I'd roll the windows up. I opened the window, and he said, oh, finally you're here. I've been waiting for you. I've got my jumpers.
Oh my God. Someone is waiting for you there.
And I said, well, if that's what being a Christian is, I'm in.
I'm in. I'm in. That's so good. It's great to know, like even at the beginning of your walk with God, like it was those small things to the big things, you knew that He was there with you. And I think that's a great reminder for everybody who's listening and to your story, right? Because there's multiple times where I felt like that, you felt like that, others have felt alone, right? But then realizing, remember, no, there's a God who loves me so much, and who's
to feel when I was alone. To me, loneliness is worse than cancer.
Mm-hmm.
It eats away at you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's your frame of mind,
Yeah.
and it's what you're thinking of yourself.
Yeah.
It's when you're down and out, you don't get up and get better. You get worse.
Exactly. That's so good. Well, Jane, listen, I want to thank you so much for just taking this time just to sit down and just to remind everyone listening and watching that every name has a story and every story matters to God. Thank you, Jane.